All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Rider Review brought to you by 13K Productions. As always, sorry for the late upload. I had a fun week. I actually got to attend the game myself, and yeah, it's been a busy week here. But I guess you know what? Let's get right into it. I noticed to start off the game, the team looked really well rested. And actually, I guess Stearns, I think Gary Stearns, right, is his name. I think he made his debut, and he was second on the team in receptions with 7 receptions and 71 yards. What were your thoughts on Stearns' game?
First and foremost, thanks everybody for joining us. Coming off a win, it's always fun to talk ball, so that's awesome. All glory and praise to God. Jarrett Stearns, I think he's fantastic. His NCAA resume speaks for itself, and I believe he was a catalyst in Darrell Walker being released today. So, yeah, I think he was our leading receiver, 7 for 7 or 9 for 9, something like that, and 71 yards. Yeah, he was dynamite, and that last catch of his that he scooped off the turf in the dying minutes there, we don't win that game without that catch. So I'm a big fan of Jarrett Stearns.
You just mentioned Darrell Walker being released. I woke up this morning to a text from my dad saying that he was released, and just what are your thoughts on Darrell Walker being released today?
I think it's awful. I was on record early on in our podcast season here saying he might be our dark horse signing, and he was proving out to be that. The opening game against Edmonton, he was dynamite. I believe he was our only touchdown receiver in that game, and you could tell. I did rewatch that one, and I remember it distinctly, seeing him kind of hobble after he caught one or ran across the middle or something like that. It's awful. I do honestly think that there's still football left in Darrell Walker. It's really too bad. I guess, we have some depth at receiver, although I might question that. But it's a strange move. But, I suppose we have to trust J.O. on this one, right?
Yeah, and it's tough though. You have to kind of look at the positives too with this one. We have, I think, as both you and I have said throughout the entirety of the season, we have one of, if not the deepest receiving core in the CFL. And really our receivers, as tough as it is, they get overlooked a lot. Look at like guys like Sean Bain Jr. and Tevin Jones and Sam Emlis. Tevin and Sean are the top of the league. I think they're the 2 top receivers in the league right now, and nobody's talking about them.
Nope.
Unless the rider game is on. So,
nope.
And then I think from what I'm hearing, not this week against the Owls, but next week, I believe, against the BC Lions on August 20th, Shake and Bake is slated to make his return. How excited are you for that?
Dude, I am over the moon. He is our star. Make no mistake about it. He's a Canadian. He's our racial buster. You throw any cliche you want out there. He is outstanding. And I did jot down last night. I was listening to the fifth quarter on 620 CKRM, and they were interviewing Coach Dickey after the game, and you could hear Shaver Baker come by and kind of scream out, "That's the winning coach right there. Write that contract, baby." And Dickey turned around and acknowledged him too, which I thought was pretty cool. But I've heard it said that the guys aren't playing for Dickey, and really that statement by a guy that's on the injury list, not even playing, as he walked by the post game scrum there, that to me shows that they're still playing for Craig Dickinson.
Yeah. And Mason Fine also looked. I don't think he looked horrible. I still think there's a lot that he has to work on. I was noticing that if he wasn't, I was noticing that it was the receivers really that was making him look good. He was struggling with ball placement. I noticed a lot of the time. He was overthrowing the ball, throwing it high, and the receivers had to jump. Aside from that, I want to say the Bain catch or the Bain touchdown pass he threw. He was struggling a lot with the ball placement. Just your thoughts on Mason Fine's game as a whole.
Yeah, that's what I saw too, Caden. He's still struggling, but it's only start 5, right? That corner route to Sean Bain was, you can't get better than that. An NFL quarterback does not throw it better than that. So I'm not a huge Mason Fine guy yet, but I will give him his flowers on that one. That was an absolutely perfect throw, and he needed that. He was underthrowing, overthrowing. He didn't have a great game. I know he had 296 yards passing. Kevin Jones had a bad game. Just communication there was not good at all. It was evident on 3 or 4 plays. But yeah, I mean, we gotta ride with the kid. It's clear that they're not going to Jake, so we gotta ride with them, and we gotta win. And let's pull out this one. This next game against Montreal, it's a winnable game. We absolutely have to win these winnable games because we know what we got coming up, right? BC, Winnipeg. That is the top of the league. Those are the Goliaths, and we need to win these winnable games.
And I guess speaking of Jake Dolegala, they placed him in on short yardage and I guess a trick play at the beginning of the game. What were your thoughts on, I guess, what we saw of him? Because I like they were saying, he has some really high highs and some really low lows, and I think that game really showed off the lower lows, I guess.
Yeah, that fake field goal was absolutely outstanding. That is the smoothest fake I've seen in, I don't know, recent memory, anyway, a couple of years for sure. That was absolutely perfect, drawing the Ottawa defense offside there. Perfect. Great call, great execution, loved it. As far as the short yardage, it's tough to blame Jake too much. We have the worst short yardage team in the league. It's evident every single week. It is just awful. And let's not forget, the reason that Jake was even doing short yardage now is because Shea Patterson was horrible. So it's just awful. It's some bad luck for sure. It's definitely bad luck. But I don't blame Jake on that. It happens. I don't care who our short yardage guy is. I really don't. Shea Patterson, Jake Dolegala, I don't care. I remember 3 years ago, I don't know, it was in the Jonesy era there, where Nick Marshall was one of the best short yardage quarterbacks in the league that year.
Yeah.
And he would be, right, quarterback at Auburn. Yeah, I understand why we're not using him. Like, God forbid he gets hurt and that's your starting corner gone. So I understand why we're not using him now. But all in all, our short yardage team just sucks. I wish I could put a better spin on it, but I can't.
And with Shea Patterson there, I guess, it's hard when, you're throwing him out there for a lot. They threw him out there, I think, a few times the past few games, but he's always running, and it's tough when defenses are catching onto that. I feel like if you were to throw in a few more pass plays in there, I guess Ottawa did on one. I think they had Pigram out there, and
that was a
they
great
lined
one.
up in short yardage, and they had Pigram throw the ball. I think if you do that with Patterson here and there, I think that may help us out a little bit. But I mean, who knows, right?
Yeah, I agree, and we touched on that on a prior podcast. When he comes in and all he does is run, well, that's a telegraph, right? These guys pick that up in a millisecond, you know what I mean? So it's pretty disappointing, but I believe it was Don Hewitt on the Rider Roundtable there that said, because callers were questioning our short yardage and should it be Jake or Shea Patterson or what have you, and he's fully putting that on the O-line, and honestly, I can't disagree with him on that.
I feel like a lot of our veterans on the O-line there have to step up. I mean, they've been gone, but, when you come back into the lineup, something should change. And the fact that it hasn't drastically changed, I mean, the O-lines look better, but not a whole lot better. I think that says a little bit something about, how well the team is, doing in the locker room, I guess, a little bit, you could say.
Yeah. The team brought back Jordan Tucker. He was a training camp injury, and I know they were really, really high on him in training camp. I believe he was taking reps at left tackle. So we had Eric Lofton in there at left last game, I believe. And as soon as Jordan Tucker is up to speed, he will be replacing Eric Lofton on the left tackle position, I believe.
And, I guess we have to take that with a grain of salt. Bringing in new guys is tough for any sports team. It's a difficult sport and with all the playbooks you have to learn, it's tough. Yeah. Now let's step away from the offense. Let's look at the defensive side of the ball here. Defense looked phenomenal, especially a guy by the name of Anthony Lanier with 3 sacks that entire game. How do you think Anthony Lanier played?
I still want to see him inside. I don't think he's a defensive end, a rush end. I think he should be playing inside, and I'm not the only one that thinks that. But you can't get better than what he did last night. He was relentless last night. Relentless on a running quarterback as well, right? So, yeah, I mean, props to Anthony Lanier. That was crazy. I'm happy for him. Such a good dude, such a good teammate, all that stuff, right? One of the interviews afterwards there, the interviewer asked him about Lake Corte Moore's first sack of his career, and he expressed so much joy and so much admiration and happiness for that young chap. That just perked his voice up, and it was great to hear. I recommend people listen to that interview if you have a chance. He was phenomenal last night, and he was due. So, perhaps we shouldn't be surprised,
Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to ask you about Lake Corte Moore.
Mm-hmm.
The potential he has. Sky's the limit. What are your thoughts on Lake Corte Moore?
I love the dude. I'll be the first to admit I was PO'd when they drafted him. I wanted that big, bulky linebacker, defensive end, hybrid guy that Edmonton drafted. It's got that weird name. I can't remember it off the top of my head.
I don't even remember the name, but that says a lot right now with the way Edmonton's playing.
Yeah, no, that's true. Lake Corte Moore has been outstanding, and when you hear a big money guy, a veteran like Anthony Lanier, sing his praises and talk about how hard he's worked, how diligent he is in the playbook, how much he leans on the veterans, asking questions, because we all know that's how you learn. You ask questions, right? And to hear that glowing report from Ant, that was crazy. That's all I need for endorsement right there.
And I mean, I know we're a router-based podcast, but I want to circle back to the Elks. I guess recently they've moved around their coaching staff. They haven't fired anybody. I guess they promoted Jarius Jackson to OC. What are your thoughts on the Elks moves as of recently?
I think Steven not Steven Sorrells. Who was their OC again?
I think it was McAdoo.
Sorry, Stephen McAdoo. You're right. Yeah, I think McAdoo is, as they say, just a meat shield. They had to throw somebody to the wolves, and that's what they did. I don't see it improving anything. Having said that, Jarius Jackson is an accomplished quarterback. He's an accomplished offensive coordinator, quarterback coach anyway. So it might be a step in the right direction, but, rearranging chairs on the Titanic type of thing. Yeah, I don't know. I wish him all the best, and we all want the Elks to win a game here. Like every single buddy. I've not talked to anybody online or in person that wishes any more losses on that franchise, So best of luck to J-Jack, as they call him, and the franchise. I hope they pull one out sooner or later.
Yeah, and they, from what I hear, they're starting Trey Ford, and that's something I think everybody around the CFL, not even just Elks fans, have been calling for. So, good on him for throwing Trey Ford in there, and I'm excited to see what the kid can do. I guess we should praise him even more. I guess we have been doing that over the past few weeks here, but Brett Lauther Brett
Oh,
freaking Lauther.
yes,
4
sir.
for
Yes, sir.
4, 54 yards is the longest, and 14 points. Your thoughts on Brett Lauther's games as of recently? I say games because the last 3 have been amazing.
Yep, he's back. I'm fully confident. You and I were both pretty hard on him, deservedly so. He has not been good. He was not great last year. I feel he's back. I felt he was back, possibly even before that 54-yarder. I think it's 8 in a row now that he's made, and a 54-yarder, basically, sealing the game. You can't ask more than that. His mannerisms on the field look better. You can see it on his face. He looks better. His interactions with the team look better. I'm not sure how much that supposed hamstring was bothering him. I do believe there was a slight injury there, but I've been led to believe that maybe it was somewhat mental, what was going on there. And sometimes that's just as important as a physical injury, right? Especially for a kicker. Those dudes are a breed of their own. So the mental game is extremely important to kickers. And I feel he's back. I couldn't be happier. And I guess good on J.O. for keeping him around, through his struggles. But once again, like we owe that win to him. That was a thing of beauty.
Yeah. And I guess, saying that we owe that win to him, a lot of people are saying there's a bunch of other things that we owe to him. I guess that the riders owe to him, especially the coaching staff and the general manager. A lot of people are saying that he saved a few jobs last week.
I heard that.
and my personal opinions are, I don't think anybody's job is safe, especially because it's football. Even if he so-called saved a few jobs, I think the only person whose job is stable on this coaching staff is probably Jason Shivers. Just your thoughts on the comments made a few days ago.
Yeah, you bet. I heard that too. I heard it from more than one dude. Jamie and I, Belton Johnson, were talking about it, right? That kick may have saved Craig Dickinson's hide and possibly Jeremy O'Day's, but I'm not sure about the latter there. I honestly can't see them making a move in season unless it's disastrous, 5 in a row, something like that, 5 losses in a row. I could see them making a move, but mid-season, it would have to be a colossal collapse for them to make a move, I think.
Now let's just do a little bit of a preview for Friday's game against the Montreal Alouettes. There's news. There's skepticism here on whether or not Mr. Fajardo will be starting. What do you think? You think Fajardo's going to start?
1,000% he's starting. If he had half a leg missing, the dude is starting. There's no question about it. If there's I'm not a betting guy, I'm not a gambling guy. I work too hard for my money. But if there's a prop bet out there to place that Cody is starting against the Riders, take it. Put all your money on it.
Yeah.
And do it responsibly, good people. Come on now. He's playing.
I think even if if his leg was falling off, I think he'd still be doing it for the pride because we know the type of guy Cody is.
You bet.
Right?
He's a scrapper. He's a scrapper. Yeah.
What does our offense have to do against Montreal's stingy defense? Because Montreal, from what I've watched, one of the best defenses in the league, quite frankly. What does our offense and I guess Mason Fine, what does he have to do better to, help this offense pass the defense of the Montreal Alouettes?
Yeah, they've got a good defense. They really do. But so did Ottawa, right? And we fared okay. Established line of scrimmage. I know that's a tall order because we've been horrible. And I, again, don't really blame Jamal Morrow too much on that. Our run blocking is absolutely putrid. And going back to Rider Roundtable there, Don Hewitt said this was somewhat aggressive, but he said they're not CFL caliber. That's good. That's a tough one. Like that's really saying something. I don't know if I'm quite there, but we have to establish a line of scrimmage. We have to establish a run game. Andre Bolduc, our running backs coach, hopefully he can scheme something up. And what's his name? Anthony Vitelli, our O-line coach. Hopefully they can get together, because I'll tell you right now, if we don't establish a ground game, I don't care who it is. That Canadian kid, Hudon, Frankie Hickson, J-Mo, I don't care. If we don't establish some kind of ground game, we don't have a great chance. I'll just say it.
Switching over to the defensive side of the ball. How well do you think the defense has to play? I know they've been playing pretty well over the past few weeks. They've been keeping us in the game. What do you think? What does the defense have to do to help us pass the Alouettes here?
Well, number one is, and I'm sure we're all thinking it, I'm not saying anything groundbreaking or prophetic here. Put pressure on Cody. We all love Cody, but we know the kind of quarterback he is. He's one read Fajardo. Put pressure on him. Get in his grill. Make him panic. Do the pirouette. And let's just knock him on his keister, man. Like, Cody's a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. He's not a cerebral quarterback. He does the one read thing, and if it ain't there, he books. And I would say that would be my number one priority. William Stanback scares me. He's starting to get his groove again. He was once the top running back in the CFL, and it wasn't close. That's 2 or 3 years removed from that, but he's still a dangerous weapon, and he is starting to get some traction. So he bothers me a little bit. So that's up to our linebackers and, our boy Larry Dean, the best linebacker in the league, in my opinion.
100%.
To put a stop to Stanback, and then I think we got a chance, buddy.
Anything else you wanted to touch on today?
What do we got here? We touched on Jarrett Stearns. That catch was a game saver, in my opinion. So we're driving down the field, trying to get into Lauther range, right?
Yeah.
And why were we throwing the ball like that? We don't bleed the clock. You have a chance for an interception. There's only bad things that can happen. And Mason's in his 5th start. Like, I am perplexed by that, dude, and still somewhat angry about that. There's only bad things that can happen with a young quarterback with the game on the line, chucking it over the yard like that. Hand off the ball. Even 2 yards, 3 yards is great. And that wouldn't have been a 54-yard field goal had we been handing the ball off. I just don't understand it. What do you think?
I did mention something about that to Jamie and Belton and Daryl there. A lot of the play calling during that game was very suspicious. I don't know what you're doing, having, even like close to the end of the game there, having Shea Patterson come out there in shotgun formation, right?
Yeah.
They know he's going to run. Like, what is the point in calling some of these plays that you're calling? Because they're only being a detriment to themselves. I think that coaching staff has to take a really good look at the plays they're calling and change something up, because, you have to establish more of a ground game, as we said, right? And you have to, you have to throw the ball less, because clearly, Fine isn't that great of a quarterback. It's evident that he can't make those throws. I mean, you have your flash in the buckets with, Emilus and Bain there, but I think you have to focus on the ground game more. And if that doesn't get going, you have to change it up.
It's frustrating, and I've rewatched that last 5 minutes several times now, and I probably will again. It was so frustrating. That didn't have to be a 54-yarder. And you know what? If Brett Lauther missed that, we would be blaming him. And in actuality, it was the play calling, which I assume was Kelly Jeffrey, unless he's getting a final, okay, go ahead from Dickey, which I doubt. Like, that would be on Jeffrey. If Brett missed that 54-yarder, and he could have, right? That is a long, long, long kick in a windy stadium. We would be blaming him, and that is not where that blame lies. We should have been handing that ball off, get 2-3 yards, and make that a 50-yarder instead of a 54, because a 54 is a moonshot, dude. And I'm still frustrated about that play calling. I am not sold on Kelly Jeffrey. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Anything else you got?
No, like you said, we're a CFL podcast too. Obviously, we're pretty hardcore Rider fans. But
Yep.
what's your thoughts on Tommy Condell being let go in Hamilton?
I was looking at some of the analyst views here, and it's a good move. They're struggling on offense. Clearly, this was supposed to be this was supposed to be a Grey Cup season for them. With the moves made in the offseason, bringing in guys like Bo Levi and Butler and whatnot. Yeah. Right? I think changes had to be made, and changes were made, and you know what Coach O, I think something has to happen there. I think something had to have happened, and it was a good move, a very good move.
Yeah. It's tough to see though. Tommy Condell is one. He was in Riderville for a number of years. It's tough to see veterans be shown the door like that because he's won a lot of football games, man, and he knows what he's doing. He didn't forget to design an offense overnight. So I'm sure that's very frustrating for him. I hope, and I do feel that he will land on his feet somewhere. But, in his place, you got Scott Milanovic, one of the most dynamic offensive minds of the last, 8-10 years. So they're not going to miss a beat. And in fact, I expect them to improve a lot, So that's about all I had.
All right. Well, I guess that pretty much does it for us. Make sure you guys go follow us on our social medias here, Hillbilly PhD and Caden Hardy. We appreciate you guys for tuning in every single week, or I guess most weeks here. Bear with us here. We're still getting going, even though we're 10 episodes in, something like that. So
yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys after the Riders hopefully take out Cody Fajardo and the Alouettes.